prayers for just a few minutes this morning. Don't know exactly where that we'll go this morning. May just reading that to you this morning. If that's all the Lord, as far as the Lord allows us to go, I'll get out of the way. And one of you other men, if you've got something, well, you're more than welcome that to come ahead. But I feel led in that to read just a little bit to you this morning. Give me just a minute here, see if I can find another verse of Scripture right here. Come to our heart and our mind there a few days ago. If you want to read along with us over in 1 Corinthians, the 13th chapter, if you want to be turning there in your Bibles this morning. 1 Corinthians in the 13th chapter. You want to stand this morning for reading of God's Word, that'll be fine. If you don't ain't able, that's all right too this morning. Let me say this before I do read this morning. I encourage you to remember, we've got some here in the church. It's elderly and health conditions and different things, and Lord knows their heart. I've thought about them the last few days. I know without a doubt they'd love to be here this morning. And I'll be honest with you, this may kind of sound funny or odd. I'm thankful that they're taking the precaution to still stay in and everything. But let's remember them. And I thought there earlier this week, though, how that myself there, even last Sunday and even today, we're thankful that to be at the Lord's house. But do we truly appreciate the opportunity that we have to come and be able to be here today? But over in the 13th chapter in the 1 Corinthians, I want to read a few verses here. Like I said, Lord allow us, we'll say a few words from that. If not, well, we'll just, Lord, don't come by, I'll get out of the way. And I don't want to make a mockery, and that'll be stand this morning. But the first verse, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. Though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains, and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemingly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil. Rejoice not in iniquity, but rejoice in the truth. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even also I am known. Now abideth faith, hope, charity, these three, but the greatest of these is charity. And I'll leave off reading right there correctly read, and I know a little bit of a long and lengthy reading this morning, but I felt led that we needed to read all of that this morning. And like I said, you pray for me for just a few minutes this morning. I don't want to say or do anything that that wouldn't be pleasing and that to the Lord this morning. I want to do anything that I might say or do this morning, but I want it to be for His honor, for His glory this morning. You see, there's nothing that stands before you this morning. There's nothing whatsoever that makes me worthy except one thing this morning. And a lot of times we cut ourselves short, saying we'll get down and out and we'll think we're not fit, we're not worthy this morning. But I want to preach to you for just a few minutes this morning that if you're a saved child of God this morning, if that blood has been applied and that to you this morning, you're worthy this morning. I want you to understand that this morning. If the Lord's ever spoken to your heart this morning, and you've ever cried out to Him, I said, Lord, will you save me this morning? Listen, that means that you're part of the children of God this morning. Listen, that means that you're a chosen vessel this morning. That means that you're a worthy vessel this morning to work for God this morning. You say, well, preacher, there's so many things. Listen, let me preach on this for just a minute. I'll try to get into our scripture this morning. Let's talk about being worthy this morning to work and do something for the Lord this morning. There's things that man will do this morning, saying that'll cause us not to be worthy this morning. There's things that we'll do that will get the old vessel dirty and mucked up and shamed, whether they can't do something for God. But listen, that's us this morning, and that's not God this morning. That's when we let sin come into our life and begin to build up and begin to get in the way of things this morning. You say, well, preacher, I don't know all about that. Listen, this morning, that's the truth this morning. The reason that I know this morning is because that I've let it happen to me before, but I've let sin come into my life. I've let things get dirtied up this morning. Listen, this morning, until I came. The only way to get the grace of God this morning is to come and to an altar of repentance this morning, and to bow down your head this morning and ask the Lord to forgive you this morning. Boy, it's simple, ain't it? I want you to do something about it. I want you to do something about it this morning. I've thought since this all came about, and this virus here and all this has started, thank you, Tyler. All this just came about this morning. I'm back the first of the year. If you'd have told me that I'd been faced tonight with a decision whether or not to cancel services for weeks this morning, I'd laughed at you and said there's no way in that this morning. I'm saying all that to say this. We need to take advantage of the day that we've got today. The Bible teaches me, listen to me, you youngins, pick up for just a minute and listen. Listen, today's the day of salvation. If the Lord's speaking to your heart this morning and condemn conviction set in your heart, and you know that you're lost this morning, and the only way to fix that is to be saved this morning. How do I get saved this morning, preacher? I'll tell you how you get saved is to humble your heart, to get down on your knees and say, Jesus, will you save me this morning? That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it this morning. That's all there is to it this morning. Listen, you can say, I'm waiting on this one or that one this morning. Listen, if the Lord's speaking to you today, Lord's speaking to your heart this morning, it's you this morning. Today is your time. You might be here and say, well, preacher, I'm saved. Listen, you've told us to stand or say, not to be up and about. Let me back up just a little bit. I tell you what I've told you this morning is to use some good common sense this morning, but in no form or fashion. If I told you that you couldn't come to this altar this morning, listen, if God's speaking to your heart look at this virus, it's kind of like the old saying is, don't poke the bear. Here's a little common sense in that this morning. You see the bear laying over his legs there. You just leave him alone, he's going to leave you alone. You go over and kick him or poke him with a stick, you might get smacked, you might get hurt this morning. Listen, it's kind of the same way with God this morning. You continue this morning to turn a deaf ear this morning, and you continue to take things serious this morning. Listen, that's the problem with our people today. We don't take God serious anymore this morning. I ain't forgot about what I read you. We'll try our best, Lord willing, to get to that in a minute. There's been different ones request and talk this morning. Talk about this morning. About talking to God about things. So many times we'll let things get off with a mess. Then we'll want to run and pick up our Bible. We'll want to run. We'll want to call our old prayer warrior friends up. We'll want to run, talking that to the Lord and say, Lord, here this mess is. Will you fix it? And let me tell you something this morning. The God that I'm serving is capable of fixing anything going on in your life. But listen, let's just be honest about it for just a minute. At the same time, you ever thought that maybe God gets tired of just hearing from me and you say it? When we make a wreck and a mess out of things, and we just all that we ever do, and just bringing one problem after another this morning. Listen, God every once in a while like for me and you this morning, just to humble ourselves down and say, God, here we are. I love you this morning. I'm thankful for my salvation. I'm thankful for my home. I'm thankful for my church this morning. I'm thankful that I'm one of yours today. How long's it been since you've done that? I love y'all bottom of my heart, church. I hope you know that this morning. I'll even put it this way. I think it's the best church in the country. I ain't putting no other church down. If you don't feel that way about your church, there's something wrong. You need to examine yourself. I think I belong to the best church in the country. I think I've got the best bunch of people in the country this morning. So don't think that I'm just against you or trying to hurt you or tear you down this morning. I tell you what I want to say this morning. I want to say the old mother. I want to say the old mother church. I'm getting tired this morning. And how do we get tired this morning? How do we get humble this morning? How do we fix some things up this morning? There's some right now sitting there thinking, well, preacher, you've got us choked down. We can't get up and move around. We can't come on Sunday nights. Can't come on Wednesday nights. All these different things. Like Moses, them old prophets, the Bible teaches me. You know how many times they met and come out, bud? What's the year? What's the year this morning? The rest of the year, they was on their own. Listen, this morning, it ain't that way today. When Christ came and died upon the cross, the veil was rent this morning in the holiest of holies, from the top to the bottom. God done that this morning, and He made a way for me and you to communicate all the time and always this morning. That separation was taken away. So if you're separated from God today, it ain't God's veil that's up in the way. It's you this morning. It's you. I've told this little silly thing before. And no comedian one time telling his little act. He said, once I'd just like to see somebody get on Phil Donahue and say, Mom was great, Dad was great, I'm just awful. I'd like to see some of God's people every once in a while just stand up and say, God's great. Ain't a thing in the world wrong with God. My mom and daddy raised me in church. They're all right this morning. I'm the one. What I'm saying is take ownership for the thing this morning. Verse 7. I know it's very, very familiar scripture to you this morning. Let me back up and read 6 to you too. Rejoice not in iniquity, but rejoice in the truth this morning. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Well, it's a mouthful in that 7th verse, ain't there? And there's part of that we'd like to sift out over here and omit what we're saying. I know I would at times. I'll just be honest with you. I won't include nobody else. It takes time. Boy, that's a lot to swallow right there. To beareth all things. Boy, just think about that for just a few minutes. To beareth all things this morning. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things this morning. You know what that verse right there tells me? There's going to be some sorrow we go through. There's going to be some tough, rough times to go through. And I've preached it like this before, compared it. You ever at home where you get into just a real tough, nasty project? I'll use this for example. I absolutely hate to paint. Teresa, she's done started about 2 months ago wanting to do some more painting. I've told her how pretty them colors was. It's already there, and how much I liked them and loved them, and how good things was. And I dread that. I don't want to do that. More than likely sometime this summer I'm going to have to. I'm about run out of excuses and things to tell her. But when I get done with that, or we get done with that, we get everything put back up, and I get everything cleaned up, I'll agree with her, Tammy. Boy, it looks good, don't it? Oh, that looks good. It's just the thought of it, the dread of it, of going through it this morning. And it's the same way a lot of times with being a Christian. And you say, well, preacher, why is it that way? It's because we've got the flesh to deal with. This morning, if I could have got out of Seth of preaching, I would have this morning. I had a dread about it this morning. It was last Sunday. I couldn't wait to get to God's house, and I just so happy to come. And I'll just be honest with you this morning. Not that I don't love you, not that I don't care about you or anything, but for whatever the reason, I have a dread before me about getting to the place to where I can preach this morning. Listen, that's the flesh that we deal with this morning. But the Bible teaches me to press on through that. The Bible teaches me to press on through that, but not only to press on through it, but also that there'll be help along the way. You read and you study about Christ right down at the end. When they came, they take him away that night. And he went out into the garden there and he began to pray. And the Bible says in one place that his blood, or his sweat turned to drops of blood this morning. Saith he dreaded what's set before him this morning. He knew what was across the finish line. He knew what had to take place. But getting from the garden to the crucifixion, that flesh that he carried. You can say all you want to me this morning. It's just how I believe it this morning. There was a dread in the flesh this morning to get there. He knew it had to be done. He knew there was a lost and dying world that was depending on him this morning. But listen, when he came leaving that garden and getting to that cross. I've preached it like this before. Bible don't say anywhere in it, but I believe if he stubbed his toes, he come through the house, he hurt this morning. I believe that if a flu was running through the village, he was just as acceptable as the next man to get sick in that fur because he carried that flesh this morning. But let me get back to this. Get back to Christ there for just a minute. They took him, they mocked him, they beat him, they done all these things to him. Humiliated him. All these things that they done to him. And he was weak. Now that old body got weak, see. His old natural body can just take so much this morning. And they placed that old cross on him and began to carry it. And they was, you know the story this morning. And there was one in the crowd that they picked out to help him along the way this morning. And what I've always seen it at this morning, if we'll look for it and we'll be willing to accept it this morning, when we get down, we can load spiritually. God will send us somebody to help bear the load this morning. But we've got to be willing to accept it this morning. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never faileth. That means love never fails this morning. And the love that God has for you and I, the love that Jesus Christ had on that cross, is the same love that's still here today, saith. And it never fails, and it never leaves, and it never goes away or gets weak or anything like that this morning. It's right there. Just like it was when you was lost and you accepted him into your heart this morning. It's that very same thing. We'll read just a little bit on these last verses down here. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. These verses right here, pay attention. When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. I'm just going to sum that part up, just be plumb blunt, and go ahead and break this knife right here. What that means is grow up. What that means is, saith, is to grow up. Is to grow up and act our age this morning. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face now I know in part. But then shall I know even as I also I am known this morning. My Bible over here on the side, it's got a little capture or reference. You can reference there in my Bible there that says the enduring this morning. I thought about that when I read that, the enduring this morning. I'll try my best not to get into that part of it. There's a whole lot in that this morning. The enduring this morning. You want to endure some things this morning. We came out of revival a few months ago. I was thumbing through my phone there the other night. I believe it was 11th of November. During that time, I don't remember this now. I can go back and look at the calendar when we started. But that was the date and the night that he was coming around and fellowship with Jimmy, Kenny. I think Stella was here that night. He was coming around and fellowship with them. That was the date that was on my phone. So many times today, and I ain't trying to go back in reverse, but I thought about that the last 2 or 3 days. So many times today, we get down to revival time, we say, oh yeah, Lord's going to save our people. Lord's going to save our people. Lord's going to save our people. You won't know why he sent revival for anyway. Was to get us in shape. Get us in shape this morning. I enjoyed revival. November, December, January, February, March, April, May. That's 6 months. That's 6 months. It ain't been that long ago. It ain't been that long ago this morning. Won't you come this morning? I'm going to ask them to come sing. I'm going to give a verse of invitation this morning. You say, well, preacher, I don't want to come up there by myself. I'm going to have to ask somebody to move or this or that. If they was to call out to us this afternoon, say one of these little ones was lost out there somewhere or another in the community. Boy, we'd gather together and we'd walk the hilltop spud and we wouldn't stop till we found that little one, would we? If they called this evening and said one of your precious dear little children are mine. They went missing, something was gone. Boy, we would band together and boy, we would pray. Boy, we wouldn't give up. I know my community, I know my church this morning. I know you wouldn't this morning. I'm going to go ahead and give out the call this morning. There's some that's missing this morning. There's some that's under conviction this morning, MCM. They're waiting on, they're depending on me and you. But to get out and to cry their name out to God on our behalf this morning. I preach it like this and I believe it like this morning. When I come under conviction, man, saying when I was a little boy, I think of some old members down at MCM that began to cry my name out. And I'd be saved. I believe that this morning. I really do. I don't know their names. But I believe that this morning. With all of my heart this morning. I believe I had some grandparents. I had a mommy and daddy that was calling out on my behalf this morning, safe. That was concerned about me. I believe I had a pastor. I believe I had Sunday school teachers. I believe I had song leaders. I believe I had members this morning. Down at the old Mother Church that got concerned about a little 6-year-old boy. That got concerned about me. Began to call out my name. Say, Lord, help him. Lord, help him. Lord, help him this morning. If you're here this morning, and if you're here this morning, Lord's calling out to you. Won't you come this morning? And make things right this morning. How long's it been since you've been able to really feel the Lord this morning? How long's it been since you've been able to really just get down and rejoice this morning? How long's it been? I love you this morning. I'm thankful for you this morning. You have a message. Or you sing, during you play, church you stand. You sing this morning. If you're here and you need this altar, I'm begging to you to come. It's open this morning. The decision, the time is yours this morning. So many times we think, oh, they'll think such bad things of me this morning. No, they won't. I'm going to tell you something this morning. There's already been some that's been praying on your behalf this morning. I believe that with all my heart. I believe that with all my heart. There's some that's come this morning. Just looking, thinking, boy, they might come today. I come this morning, this thinking, saying, boy, they might be one come out of the men's back here. They might be one come to an altar this morning, make things right. They might be one there that's lost, that's willing, that's decided that I'm going to get saved today. Won't you come? I keep picking up and bring it to you this morning. It just don't work that way. If I could, I'd bring it up and I'd carry it to you this morning. You've got to make the effort this morning. You've got to be the one that wants it this morning. More than you want anything else this morning. The Sunday afternoon that I got saved, I wanted that more than anything else that I ever wanted. It's the most precious thing that I ever received. The most precious thing that I ever received. Won't you come this morning? Go ahead and sing.